Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Gabrielle. I
Hi.
feel like did I say that right? I feel like I did.
Almost, Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. I was like, I just said it. Okay. Go
That's
ahead and
okay.
introduce yourself, lovely.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us something about you.
Absolutely. So, my name is Gabrielle, and I am the owner and founder of the Innovative Learners. And the Innovative Learners is a tutoring agency, and we tutor our children with culturally relevant lessons that relate to their backgrounds and experiences, and also helps them grow academically. We've seen a lot of success with our kids. That's the best part of this job. So we work with students all over the world. And I have a lot of experience in the classroom, outside of the classroom, with homeschooled parents. Um, so I'm excited to get into this conversation.
Awesome. So how did we get here? How did you figure, hey, you know what? These kids need some tutors, and I'm going to
Yes.
be the one to provide the services for them. How did you get here?
Yes. Well, actually, now that I look back at it, it was kind of founded on anger.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes. Um, and if I have any teachers listening, they can kind of relate, but just being frustrated with the constraints of in classroom teaching, um,
mm,
in a school where you are ruled by the bell or by testing, by numbers, by data. Um, the more I feel like parents are starting to see it more that kind of school is turning into or was built like a business. And
mm,
that is very frustrating as an educator, especially teaching minority students who do not operate um, in a lot of those constraints. So I was frustrated because I wasn't able to help the kids that needed the most help within that time
mm.
frame. And I was also frustrated with the curriculum that they were receiving because it did not reflect their backgrounds at all. And one time I was in the library and I saw this like old white guy tutoring. I was like, I could do that. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it my way. And I had no intentions of making it a business. So much the intentions with doing what's best for the students when I wasn't in a school system that would allow me to do that. And it's no shade to the school system, but just the way that schools operate is very difficult to meet the needs of 25 kids in 90 minutes with IEPs and also making it relevant. That's a tall order. So
Yes, ma'am.
that's how this company happened.
Yes. So you said you have experience in the classroom and outside the classroom. What was your experience? Were you teaching?
Yes, yes. I was teaching middle school. I've been
Mm,
teaching middle school for over 5 years in the classroom. I also tutored before I became a certified teacher. So I'm originally from Texas and I taught for a year in Houston. And I moved to Houston. I moved away from Houston and I taught in New York, in Harlem. And I taught in
that's a big
Harlem.
difference.
It is a big jump. It's a big jump. But I was like, I want to be the best teacher I can be. I want to go to a quote unquote difficult area and I want to
Mm,
live in the area where the kids are learning. A lot of teachers, I see, especially with white teachers who go to these black neighborhoods, it's almost like a white savior complex. Um,
mm.
so they go teach and help, and then they go back to their nice apartments on the east side of New York or whatever. And that would be like Gold Coast version of Chicago. But I wanted to work and live where the kids lived. And that was a very eye-opening experience for me. And I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. So that gave me so many tools on how to reach different levels of students. And then 2 years ago, I moved to Chicago to work my business full time. So yeah,
Nice. Did you
yeah.
teach in Chicago also?
Right now, I do work in CPS schools, so we're a CPS vendor. But the work I do in schools is me bringing my curriculum and my tutoring
Okay.
services to the schools. So yeah.
Nice, nice. So tell me about the difference between Texas and New York, because that, like I said,
Yeah.
that's a huge jump.
Yeah,
So
it's a big
what
difference.
different? Yeah, what did you see that was like, okay, well, they didn't do that in Texas, like,
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know if it's still like this because this was pre-COVID, but in the South, you just have an innate response to respect adults, you know?
mm,
Um, However, working in a school in Harlem, these kids' experiences were very different from the kids that I was teaching in Texas. So
they're
your respect
aged more,
they're
right?
aged more, yes, and you have to earn their respect because so many teachers leave the next year, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like almost like abandonment issues. And I
No.
came in with you know, the notion that, oh, I'm a Black woman, these are Black kids, I can relate to them. Absolutely not. My experiences did not reflect them. I mean, I had a leg
Wrong.
up, yeah, but that was also I couldn't there were some things that I couldn't relate to these kids. And there may be I had to recognize there may be something in me that could possibly trigger a student, you know? So it humbled me and it made me take myself out of the equation as an educator and more so brought it to meet the needs of the kids. The biggest difference and what really I opened my eyes. I told this story before, but I had a kid who was reading a passage, and the passage had the word lawn in it, like, outside lawn. And a lot of these kids live in buildings,
Oh yeah.
brownstones. And so they were reading, and he raised his hand. He was like, "Yo, what's a lawn?" And I was like,
Oh
wow. Like in Texas, like it's given that everybody's got grass somewhere. But
yeah.
I had to explain that to the student. And had I not been there to explain that word, that student wouldn't have got that entire passage wrong. So that
Mm,
was just like, okay, how else is this showing up? Where we have
mm,
these, preconceived notions that all kids know what certain context of words means. But, and that goes back to their experience. He was very smart. He just had no context of what a lawn was. The only lawn they got is in
yeah.
Central Park. And that's not really close to the area of Harlem I was teaching in. So um, things like that, like seeing my kids walk around outside of school, like we were not living together, but like we
Yeah.
was living in the same environment. It's very different,
It
but
is.
it makes you more like real and relatable. And I was utilizing that to build so many relationships with those kids. I mean, I could go on and on, but I loved it. Um, and it really grew me as a person and as an educator.
I think it helps to live in the environment that you are teaching in, because
Yeah.
I can definitely relate with what you're saying, because I know when I first started teaching in Norfolk, 'cause I'm from Virginia. When I first
Yeah.
started teaching in Norfolk, I was still living in Virginia Beach, and Virginia Beach and Norfolk are two totally different places. And
Yeah.
so when I moved to Norfolk, like, because the kids used to tell me, yeah, Miss Carter, they be shooting all the time and da 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 da, like all this stuff. And I'm like, does it really be happening like that?
Yeah.
Girl, when I moved to Norfolk, I
Yeah.
said, oh no, it really be
It
happening.
is. Yeah. Exactly.
Goes
Exactly.
down. Like, so
Exactly.
you definitely get to see different and see the environment, and what you said about the lawn. Like, that's what common sense bothers me so much. Like, people using that, oh, that's common sense. That's common. Like,
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
are not common if you're not culturally like together. It's not
Yeah.
common if that's not your
Yeah.
environment. It's not
Yeah.
common if it hasn't been taught to you. That's not something that's passed down generations with you. So that always, that phrase bothers me. But
Yeah.
yes.
It's crazy. And even when I was teaching in Houston, Houston is very diverse. So I had a student from where was he from? Oh, Korea. And it was his first year in America ever.
Wow.
And ain't really a lot of black people over there. And so he asked me like, why do the black girls have the circle hair? The curly was not in his vocabulary. So
Uh,
it was a lot of explaining to do. And
mm,
I use those kind of experiences. So when I am walking into a text or teaching a concept, I look at it and I'm like, okay, what needs to be pre-taught before I put this
Mm,
text in front of kids? Because we're testing for the skills. We're not testing to see if where a horse stable is or kind of, and there's a lot of
mhm.
passages about animals and outside, and that don't really relate to, and like pet dogs, there's a lot of West Africans in my students in my class. They don't do pets, so it was a lot of that I had to pre-teach, and I just can't assume that, everybody has the same experience.
I know, and that's it goes to show how damaging those tests are, though, because they
Yeah,
don't take all that into consideration.
no.
Like, there's
And you're
no one
based
there
on
reading
that.
through those with yes, like
Mm,
you said, if you hadn't explained to the young man what alarm was, he would have got the whole passage wrong. He would have not been able to comprehend what was going on. So just imagine how many things they come across while they're testing, and they're like, "Yo, what is this?" Like, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. And as we get into the older grades, historical context, history is not a tested subject, so they don't focus on it. Um, I mean, I have kids that are 17 and they can't tell me what state they live in.
Mm.
It's just it geography is not a thing, understanding of like Constitution, even Black history, slavery. They think that Martin Luther King was a slave. Like the context is, I'm telling you, the timelines, like all of this stuff, like was taught to us. If it's not in the test, it's not getting taught. So unfortunately, that leaves a lot of kids behind when it comes to understanding their world around them and how they can be instruments of change if they don't really understand or have a grasp on what happened
Mm.
before.
Yeah, yes. And to see, I think especially with Black history, knowing and hearing their stories are so important because of the age that they did it at. We are like taught or kind of programmed to think like, oh, life starts after 18. Like, oh, when you're
Yeah,
18, that's when you need to start worrying about stuff.
yeah,
Like, but these, are the civil rights leaders, the like inventors, the creators, the
mhm,
artists, Harlem Renaissance individuals, like all those people were doing those things in their teens. Like they were doing things young, making
absolutely.
movements really, really early. And so I feel like that is definitely a history that should be, talked and focused on a little bit more than it is. But
A- Absolutely, but it's not. And you bring up a good point. When I do Black history, which I really don't really do Black history on
yeah.
February because it's in everything, it's not isolated. But we would have to do it. I would teach it in a sense that it was alive. So
Mm,
not putting a bunch of deceased people in front of kids, because then that it puts it in their brains, oh, racism ended because Martin Luther King, he marched. So back when we had racism, Black Lives Matter, and this was pre-COVID, Black Lives Matter brought up like an eye-opening for a lot of kids and adults. Um, but they had no base. They were confused because they thought it ended.
mm,
So when I teach Black history, I make sure I put uh, young people who are actively making changes today in this point of time. So, like Little Miss Flint, who wrote to Barack Obama about the water crisis. There's a girl, I forget her name, it starts with an M, and I actually saw her in Macy's in New York. She started this movement about having a black books in the library.
mm,
Um, Actively their age, just putting kids in front of them who are actively making change, because I say this often, but kids can't be what they can't see. And so,
mm.
20 and 30 is so far-fetched for them. You have to put images of kids that are their age doing things that promote change because it starts young. So yeah.
I love that. Yes, yes, it is very important. I know I'm always showing my girls news articles. Look at this. Look at what she did. Look
Yeah,
at what she did.
yeah. Exactly.
Like,
What you think about this?
yes.
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
it's important to see that because, like I said, it's just so programmed that, oh, you're not in the real world right now. Oh,
Right,
don't worry about that right now. You
right,
wait until you're 18. When you're 18
right,
and you're an adult, and that then we can talk.
right,
Then we can show you. No, like no,
right.
then it's gonna be too late. Like
Yeah, yeah, and you're not telling them, so they're getting the information from somewhere, you know. A lot of them get their information from TikTok. I saw on TikTok.
yes,
I saw on TikTok, you know. So
yes,
I had to do a lot of lessons on like credible sources and what that means and
yes,
what you can
yeah,
quote and how to do research because we see adults falling for the same thing. Just because somebody says something and they have a lot of followers doesn't mean it's valid, you know?
yeah.
And so there's a lot of that that is lost today. Um, and those people are having children and they're just kind of like passing it on. So yeah, you got to make sure, like, you know, that's how people get scammed and all kind of
Yeah.
things. So yeah, that's very important to make sure kids understand critical thinking.
Indeed. Yes. So what ages do you work with? You work with all ages?
Um, yes, so the company works, we do from K to 12. Um,
Okay.
Me specifically, I don't like to go lower than fifth grade. Um, just because of the type of teacher that I am. I'm not good at kind of glossing over, sugarcoating things. Even with like the little ones, I be telling them what be going on, you know, in a way they'll grasp it. Um, and also, so yeah, I like to work with the older kids, but we are able to kind of level the material down to even kindergarten. Um, we had a fourth grader last year. We were talking about Marcus Garvey, and
Mm.
he ended up doing a whole project on Marcus Garvey in a
Oh,
very southern state, in a very southern school. So we are, you know, sparking little little fires under kids and
yeah.
also planting seeds because you never know what is going to take root. Kids absorb everything. Even if they seem
Everything.
like they're not listening, they
They listening. That's
listening.
when they listening the hardest. When they pretending
Yes.
like they not, when they over there,
Yes.
oh, they're on their
Yes.
game. Oh, they're doing no, they're listening.
Remember when you said it's kind of like when you said they'll bring it up. They'll bring it. And if
Mhm.
they're not listening, they're watching. And kids are very big on picking up energy, reading body language. So it's very important to also be able to express like vulnerability with students or your
Mm.
children. Like this really frustrated me. I need, you know, and then you're modeling how to
Yes.
appropriately communicate your feelings. Um,
Yes.
and that's important, you know, saying I'm sorry,
Mhm.
I messed up, you know, you guys were
All of
right.
that.
Teachers hate that
Yes.
kind of stuff. Some teachers do.
Yes, some teachers do. And I don't know why. Like
Yeah,
teach me. That's
right.
always my motto. Like teach me. Like what you learn?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. Let's
show
learn
me.
together. Let's learn together.
Yes.
So that's and then like curiosity is something that really it will that's what makes kids smart, like being curious, asking questions. If I have a
Yes.
student and they won't stop talking, I'm like, that kid is going somewhere, you know?
Yes.
Um,
Little
because
intelligent being you. Yes.
yes,
Because
yes,
they have a
yes,
wonder and you appreciate that because it's like the curiosity is there. It's like it's
yes,
there's endless questions available for them because of their wonder and what all
yep,
they want to know, like
yep,
their urge for to know. My oldest is like that. She has
yes,
so many questions. Oh my
yes.
gosh.
That's so good. That's
I
good.
know, I
Yeah,
know.
I know it's
I have to
annoying.
cut them off at like 7:30, like
Yeah,
7:30
exactly.
p.m. Like,
Write
okay,
them
no more
down.
questions.
Right, right.
She's like, Not tonight.
Right,
Tomorrow.
right,
Yes,
right, right,
tomorrow.
right.
Let's reconvene tomorrow, okay? Because
Exactly.
it's a lot. But y'all
Exactly.
offer virtual services, so y'all are not limited to area.
Exactly. Yeah. And that really helped a lot.
Nice.
With scheduling, um, the act of driving, dropping off and picking up, or, you know, somebody driving and leaving, it's a lot. It adds a layer to it. So the
Yes.
fact that parents can take this anywhere really helps. And we even had a kid in Mexico do our tutoring before. So yeah, we are technically global. So
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
very nice.
How how do you all meet? Is it one-on-one virtual or is it like a class setting?
Yeah, we have different options.
Okay.
So we have one-on-one tutoring for parents who feel like their student needs that one-on-one attention. But we also have groups, and they're very small groups, and they're grouped by skill and like by where they're at right now, not just, oh, you're in sixth grade, we're going to put you in the sixth grade group, you know. And also we keep in mind the ages. So that's how we model that for the most part virtually. We do in-person work with schools where we
Okay.
come in and deliver that, but that's limited to Chicago. So yeah, and we are working on something for our homeschool parents where they can, if they don't necessarily want the tutoring aspect of it, really soon we're going to be releasing our materials on a library they can
Mm.
subscribe to, and they can just have all the materials that we've worked very hard to create. None of it is like, I don't know if homeschool moms use this, but no shade, but teachers pay teachers. There's a lot of good stuff on there. I'm on there, but a lot of curriculum is just like in really pretty fonts and they're just like really basic. It looks nice. You know what I'm saying? You
Yes.
know, it's like it's a
Canvas
cute,
or
yeah,
Canva,
Canva.
real.
It's a cute worksheet, you know?
Yeah.
No, like that's not what this is. Like we are creating results. And after students are with us at least 3 months, they grow 3 to 5 levels. Yeah, so it
Nice.
works if utilized correctly. So we'll be releasing that pretty soon to homeschool parents.
Oh, that's beautiful. How often do y'all meet? Like, is it like 2 or 3 times, or is that still a la carte, like depending on what the parent chooses?
We usually either meet once or twice a week for an hour.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
nice. And y'all
yeah,
are
yeah,
packing enough for that much of a change. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah,
But that's
yeah.
what one-on-one does though, or small
Small group.
sizes in general anyways, because you're
Yeah,
able to focus more on that individual as opposed to being in a class setting of 25 plus.
right.
I recently went to an event and it was school choice event. And so there was a lot of different charter schools,
Uh-huh.
private schools and everything. And like I went and, collected all the material. And the first thing I asked, and mainly my only question I have is, what's your class sizes? Like I always want to know, what's your
Oh,
class
yeah,
sizes?
yeah.
Because I feel like that's the main issue in public school. Like teachers and their dedication is there. Like teachers want
Mm-hmm.
to do what they're doing. Like
Mm-hmm.
you ain't teaching for a paycheck. Like you're not.
No,
Like,
no.
so
Mm-hmm.
most, I'm gonna say most, teachers are there because they care about teaching. They care about furthering advancing the youth. However, once you're there, you realize, oh shucks, I ain't about to
Yeah,
advance these kids that much because they're not even where
yeah.
they're supposed to be anyway. So
Right,
how do you
right.
even get there? How was that on a Harlem level? Like how far behind? I feel like, it's nationwide anyways, but grade level, because you were
Yeah.
teaching middle school. I know my first year teaching middle school, seventh grade, I had a child learning. She was reading on a kindergarten grade level.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Was
Yeah.
that a norm for you?
It depends on the schools because I worked in 3 different schools.
Mm,
One of the schools was where the population, English was their second language.
mm,
Um, I actually had to teach a couple lessons in Spanish because one student didn't know any English. Um, but also realizing like that child's skills may be there, just not in English. So it's a different conversation. But when it comes to um, our English our native English speakers pre-COVID, I was teaching sixth grade. Most of the kids who were reading below were average third grade level. And I think it has to do with when school stops becoming fun. And
mm.
third
The
grade is,
testing, I took
that's
the
what I'm
testing
saying.
year. That's my
Yep.
correlation too, honey. Go ahead. You
Yep.
go ahead with your
Exact.
theory.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's the core. Exactly. Third grade's when they start to take the test. And if you can't get on with this bandwagon, you are subliminally getting messages that is that are letting you know that you're not a good student. Whether somebody tells you that or
Yes.
not, you're like, wait a minute, I thought we were like singing and learning and what is this? I don't like this, you know?
Yes.
And if you cannot accommodate, um, you're quickly given an IEP.
Yes, that's when the
And
labels start. That's what.
uh-huh,
Go
uh-huh,
ahead.
uh-huh.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. And then you kids feel it. Like we said, they pick up on everything. You know, why am I getting pulled out of the class? Or why is it when the teacher pushes in, she only comes to me? You know, other kids pick on it too, and then it becomes a bullying thing. And to combat that, then you got to be the class clown, and then you get to sixth
Mm,
grade, and you already got this reputation of what you about to do in my class. You know, so that's really how the cycle goes. Um, which is why I was frustrated. Like, yo, I need more than 90 minutes and I need
mm,
more. I mean, I can't, it's hard to teach to the average student when I've got kids in here who are behind. So they're being left behind essentially. Um, no matter what the when it comes to like test prep and test help, a lot of schools address it by kind of like the hospital, I think, like who can we save? Like how can we stop the bleeding the fastest, you know? And so what
girl.
about those kids that are like critically losing blood, but they're like, no, but you can solve this wound really quickly. So let's
Yes,
just focus on
ma'am.
that right now so we can like keep the flow going. So it's very frustrating as a passionate teacher who wants to help everybody, you know. What do you do in that situation? Like how do you prioritize? And it's not even a day by day decision. It's like a minute by minute decision
Mm,
because it's constantly being it's one of you and like 30 of them.
exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah,
It's a lot, girl. You don't said it all, honey.
yeah,
Especially
yeah,
those IEPs.
yeah,
And like you're handed those IEPs at the beginning of the school year, and it's like, but you do know it's like 28 of these kids in here, right? So you want me to do
yeah,
this for seven of them?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah,
like, when
yeah,
am I supposed to do that? Like,
yeah,
and how am I supposed to remember all of this? Like during the time of me teaching this class, like
right.
it is a lot being active teachers, a
A lot.
lot, a
It's a
lot,
lot.
a lot. And but it's like all for why. And then like you said with the whole the band-aids or even just the okay, who can we save? I used to
Yeah,
talk about like the green, the yellow, and the red. That's how we
exactly.
categorize these kids.
Yeah,
We look at their
yeah,
test scores, then we highlight in green, we highlight in red, we highlight yellow. Those yellow kids are priority because those are the ones that are teetering on whichever side, but we want them to teeter onto the green side. So, keep the green busy,
yep,
keep the red quiet,
yep. That you're right. That's
and focus on
it.
them yellow.
That is it. That is it. Now, some schools do it differently. Some schools do it better than others. Um, so, but overall, that is the culture of it. And what a lot of teachers end up doing, everybody gets the IEP accommodation because I can't just do seven, you know? And then you've got the greens. They're like, I'm done, you know? So,
Feel
yeah,
bad for them because it's like
yeah,
y'all could be so much further ahead.
right.
You could be doing so many other things, and it's like, how can I, like, you try to add the rigor here, you try to, but it's just so much.
It's really hard for 25. But in our small groups, we've got like four. So
Nice.
it's very
Yes.
easy to have four different ways to answer a writing question. You know, it's such a calming experience. And kids get in our they get to the class before we do. They're excited to hop
Yes.
on because it's not as anxiety producing, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and teachers feel that anxiety too, and it goes off on the kids because, you know,
Because
it's
it's a
mission
lot of
impossible.
pressure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So with your class sizes being small, with what you're focused on, have you thought about micro schools? Like I'm always throwing this out there. Have you thought about micro schools? Because I love them.
I have been approached about having one.
Nice.
Oh, I feel like it's kind of already a micro school.
It is technically.
Technically, you know, um, I wouldn't be against it. But I don't know. I know that's during COVID, it was like pods, learning
Mm,
pods. And now we're kind of getting into this micro schools so essentially, whatever you want to call it is,
yes,
this is
I
what the
know.
kids, small sizes, personalized instruction, and quality teachers and educators. So whatever box that's going to fall in, whenever the new term comes out, that's what we're going to provide because that's what it's based on. And I do feel like parents who kind of not see into the future, but they can kind of see, okay, my kid needs help outside of school. Like this isn't working. Like problem solution um, are coming to us now, and it's a pretty steady stream. I feel like 3, 5, 6 years. I don't have a lot of faith in the education system as it is right now. This is going to be a necessity for parents
Mm,
um, because they are pushing teachers out of the classroom. They are taking money out of the education fund. They are packing these kids into these classes. Um, it's not getting, I mean, some schools are doing it right with what they have, but just the culture around how people in power are viewing the education system has not improved. Um, and so this kind of supplemental teaching, whatever it's called, whether it be micro school, learning pods, tutoring, private, whatever, is going to be needed. Like parents are going to need teachers. And
yes,
those
yeah,
good quality teachers are kind of far and few between. And they're leaving the classroom like, oh, come over here. We can house you. So yeah, I see the wave it's going in. Um, Virtual learning is here to stay, and
mm,
I tell my parents, they're like, oh, he's in second grade, he's not really good. Well, now is a great time for him to practice because by the time
mhm,
he gets to high school, college, like this class is online. So you if you're just learning the skills as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, you're automatically putting yourself behind.
mm,
So kids need to know how to navigate that online space as well, in order to be ready for the future. COVID showed us a lot, and there was a lot of benefits from online e-learning. So I think some of those things are here to stay. So it's best to kind
yeah.
of get on it, you know, while it's available.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah.
parents, I mean, that's why, I have this platform to
Hmm.
introduce parents to the many different resources because a lot of parents do see, like, okay, this isn't right for my child,
Yeah.
like, as far as public school goes, but they don't have necessarily the solution in them either. Like to
Right.
say, oh, okay, well, maybe we should try this or maybe we should try that because it's not a normalized thing. When you've
Right.
been programmed to think that, oh, this is the way my child has to reach the level of success that's needed for them to be great as an adult, then you're not thinking outside of that box. You're not thinking like, oh, well, maybe we should try this, or maybe we should supplement with this, or
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
because they have to hear it. Like, it has to
Mhm.
be heard, it has to be seen. Like, oh,
Mhm.
shucks, you do that. Oh,
Yep.
okay. Well, oh, okay, maybe I should try that. Like, it has to be brought to them. And so I love having these conversations. I love showing parents like, hey, no, there's options, huh? Look,
Yeah.
look, here's
Yeah.
another one.
Exactly. Adapting, and changing. Gone are the days, and also the price of living. Like before, back in the day, you could be an educator and make $30,000 a year and have a great life and love what you do. But it's very hard to be an educator now, make 30,000 a year and have to have a second job,
Or
um,
third.
or third to
Yeah.
supplement. It's
Yeah.
it's just, you can no longer just send your kid to school and just expect them to be okay. There always has to be some reinforcement behind sending them to
Yes.
school and just receiving whatever information they're sending back. Like, have you worked with the child before? What does it look like when you're working with them? And a lot of parents don't have time for that because they are working. So this
Yes,
is
I
kind of like,
know.
yeah, yeah, because of the cost of living. Um,
Hmm.
so this is a model that is kind of like we'll handle it. We'll send you information. We even work with the providers at the school. We work with the teachers. So it's this wraparound information. So everybody is understanding what's going on. Kids are tested and diagnosed every 3 months so they can see the project progress that's happening. Parents get monthly reports from the teachers they're working with in our program. And sometimes they take those reports to parent teacher conference. So, with anything, the more data you have, the better. It's like if you're going to the doctor and you have a stomach ache, they'll be like, well, what did you eat last week? You'd be like, I
Mm.
don't know, but if you have something that's like, this is what I eat and this is how it made me feel. How does this reflect with someone? You're able to get a better understanding of what's happening with you. And it's the same with learning, so yeah.
Yes, yes. How is the parent involvement in what you're doing? Do you see more of an increase of like, okay, parents actually being involved and saying, oh, well, we're going to work on this at home too? Like, do you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I am blessed to I've got great parents. I have wonderful
Nice.
parents. And as far as their involvement goes, every month we send home like this is what you can do to support them in this area. So some of them do utilize like supplemental things in between, but because our program is so rigorous and it's like 2 hours a week typically, um, these parents want to do more. Like, what should I buy? What books should they be reading? What do they need? And I'm like, let's not beat them over the head, you know? Hey, just take them to the library. Take them to Barnes and
Yes,
Nobles.
yeah,
Like we could do like let's learn but make it fun, So it's not necessarily like work, work, work all the time because you can get fatigued and there's no space for curiosity. There's
indeed.
no space to be a kid. So we kind of like the parents on the parent side, we just need support, empathy, and to keep nurturing them via experiences when it comes to educating. I even tell my parents sometimes, like, you be the model. Kids learn from you regardless, whether y'all are arguing or not, So even modeling like what it looks like to be an avid reader. So let them see
Mm,
you reading a book or holding a book or listening to an audiobook, you know, even if you're not really engaged in it, they like I had a teacher who was one of my teachers when I got my master's degree in education. He's no longer with us, but he said he would keep a book on his desk so kids could constantly see that he was actively reading and you're not just, you know,
telling
talking.
them to read, like, yeah.
Exactly.
And you're not
Exactly.
even showing it yourself. Yes. Parents
Exactly.
have to be aware of just how big of a model they are, regardless. Like,
Yeah.
even when you think you're not modeling, you still
Mm.
modeling. Like, good or bad,
Absolutely.
it's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know necessarily if I saw my mom reading growing up, but she was taking us to the library and she was a teacher herself. So I saw her
Mm,
like, doing a lot of work that involved like reading and things like that. So just being a part of the process, kids just want to be around you too. You
yes,
know?
they do.
So just that's how we encourage our parents to support. So to answer your question, yes, they are trying to be super involved. Um,
Nice.
it's kind of like when you first start the gym, you're like, okay, what do I need to be doing? Like how many miles do I need to run? And I need to track my macros. And it's like, you don't want to burn yourself out, you
No,
know?
just talk to them. That's I feel like
Yeah.
parents don't realize how far talking to your kids actually
Yeah.
goes. Like,
Yeah.
just talking, to having a conversation, learning about what they like, what they're into,
Yeah.
just piquing their interest on certain things, introducing them
Yes.
to new things to even get, intrigued about. Just
Mhm.
talking. I had
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
students used to tell me that I talked to them more than their parents did.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
oh, that's not right.
Right.
That's not healthy.
Right. 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 Right.
So
Exactly.
we
Exactly.
advocate for parents to be involved in that manner. When we talk about homeschooling your kids, I feel like it's something that is done regardless of if
Mhm.
your child is in traditional school, a private school, a charter school, whatever. Your child is at home with you. They're learning from you. Like I said,
Exactly.
either directly or indirectly, they still learning from you. So make it a direct
Exactly.
or a conscious, like intentional learning by just talking to them. talking to
Mm-hmm.
them, introducing them, like you said, with the enrichment experiences, making sure
Mm-hmm.
they experience certain things, take them into the
Mm-hmm.
bank with you, take them to the
Yeah.
grocery store with you,
Yes. Yes.
talk about this, have them pick out the good fruit or vegetables, like prepare them
Yes.
for all this to come to them. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
them to 18 and be like, oh, you don't know how to do nothing.
Whose fault
Okay.
is that? Why would I? You did
You
everything
did
and then
everything
complained
right.
about it. Like, and I think it also has to do with releasing control, which is something we have a problem with. Um, People
They're
kind of
not your
don't,
property. These
you
kids are
know,
not yours.
no, they're just gonna do it like how you're gonna do it, and that's okay. That's all
Uh,
right.
you know, a lot of parents be wanting to create mini versions of themselves. Like, oh, that's my mini
Yeah,
me. Oh, that's my
yeah,
twin. Like, no,
right.
they're
No,
them and you are
yes,
you. Please
yes,
stop trying to program them to be little yous. Let them
exactly.
be great in them and what they are.
Exactly. And when they grow up and they don't become that, then like your relationship was centered around them being exactly like you, then what you don't even know them.
And they
So
don't know themselves because you didn't allow them to be them.
no, no,
So,
no, no. So
yes.
yeah. And allow them to explore, like growing up, I was the firstborn. I was a little girl. They would dress me up in like these poofy dresses and stockings and leggings. And I was like, Mom, please, I can't do this anymore. So they let me be a little tomboy. Like when I was in elementary school, like my dad would go to the Army Navy store and give me like camouflage and all kind of stuff. And it was fun. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to be girly again. So
Oh,
that
yes.
fluidity is important.
I know. That's why I be trying to keep up with my girls. They be going through all types of little,
Yes.
like,
Phases.
like, yes, like one minute they like this, next minute, I don't even want to
I'm
wear
not on that.
jeans. I only want to
Yeah.
wear tights. Like,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
okay,
Yep.
let me get some tights.
Right. Whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love where we're going with a lot of things. I feel like parents are becoming way more conscious about their impact on their children's life. And lo and behold, it be from the trauma that they experienced as a child. And now they're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to do different. We're going to do something
Absolutely.
different. I don't want you to be talking about me like I talk about my mama at 35. Okay. I want you
Yes.
to
Yes.
feel
Yes.
better about me. So we're gonna
Yes.
do different. And I love it
Yes.
for us because I see
Yeah.
it so many ways, so many different areas. And I feel like this is it. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
parents are waking up to choices
Mhm.
and knowing that, hey, you know what, we ain't gotta do it that way. We can do it
Right.
this way.
Right.
You know what? They have innovative learners that can
Yeah.
help us
Yeah.
with this
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Instead of like that meme that's like if Tommy had 3 apples and he takes away two, and then the kid is like crying, I can relate. That was me. It don't gotta be like that. It don't have to be like that. Doesn't have to
Beating the
be like
child
that.
all in their head. Like you are not gonna knock the child. You're not gonna knock the answer into there. Like
No.
please don't. Please do not
No.
resort to violence.
No. 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 No.
Yes.
Let
Oh,
let
I
someone
love
else
what you
do
are
it.
doing. I do. You feel like Chicago is gonna be your home base. Like that's because you went from hot to cold to colder.
To
I just
colder?
don't know. Yeah, I don't
I
know
know.
why
I
we would
know.
do that. But
I know. And now everybody's moving to Dallas. I'm like, really? But yeah, yeah, I do think it'll be home base for a while. I like it. I think Chicago's a good mix of both New York and Texas. Um, it's a lot more space to breathe here, like
mm,
physically and just like we live in Bronzeville, so the the way of the vibe of the area is very chill in
right.
comparison to New York, where
Yeah.
you know how New York is. Y'all see it
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Oh, I was just there. I spent October there, and we actually went to Chicago in September. Chicago's
Oh, nice.
beautiful. Like
Yeah.
Chicago is
Yeah.
really beautiful. The people there were beautiful. Everything was beautiful. Really was.
Yes.
I just can't do the cold. I was in
Yeah.
New York in
Mhm.
October until it started to get cold, and we had to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's cold.
real cold, real cold.
It's
Um,
ridiculous, but
but it's
I
beautiful.
like it. Yeah, and I really moved to these. I wanted to live in a red. I mean, I wanted to live in a blue state or a
Mm,
blue county, and also experience like I moved away to be a better educator.
right.
Um, the standards in Texas are very different from how they are up north. Um,
Hmm.
for various reasons. And I was like, oh, I'm not, I want to do something different. No shade to Texas educators. It's not y'all. We all know what we dealing with in Texas. And now this is before they were banning books. Like, I don't think I could be a teacher in Texas and have to like teach with like my mouth taped basically because you
Yeah.
can only say that's crazy to me. So,
I
um,
could I know I had to step when I stepped because they would have
yeah,
fired me. Like somebody
yeah,
mama would have said something because
yeah,
like you said with the mouth tape thing, like it's like, oh my gosh, you want me to censor everything. I can't say
yeah.
nothing.
No, no,
You gonna
and
trigger somebody with something, like some way,
right,
in some way.
right. And why not the information come from you than the internet? You know, um, these kids are going to come to you with questions if you develop that relationship with them. So the best thing to do is to kind of lay it out. And that is how I was raised as a kid. Like my mom was a social worker first, and then she was an
Mm,
educator. So she saw a lot. And she made sure that we had a good foundation and understanding. And she's like, I want you to understand what this is. Let's put a name on this so somebody
right.
doesn't come in to confuse you, So that's needed. But now it's kind of like we will not speak about it. It's very very different. So that also before that even happened, I kind of felt it shifting. So that really motivated me to move up north. And I'm
Yeah.
glad I did, despite the cold. I'll take the cold over banned books.
Mm. Girl, you should have came a little bit more west to Arizona.
Right, 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 right.
Wait, your presence is needed in Chicago, obviously. So I'm glad you listened to yourself.
There you go.
And
There you go.
I'll
Who
let you know
knows?
when I'm visiting in the summertime again.
In the summer. That's a great time.
In
It's
the
a totally
summer,
different
yes.
city in the summer. Yes, yes.
Where can we find you? Where can we find innovative learners?
Sure. So we are the innovative learners everywhere. So two N's, THE. So that's our website, on our Instagram, Facebook. We also have a podcast called Raising
Nice.
Readers. Um, I'd love to have you on one day.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where I kind of, give my insights on how to raise avid readers. And also we hit like different education topics. Um, we've got a lot of really good episodes coming out. I'm very excited about it. Um,
Nice.
it's really fun for me. So yeah, that's where y'all can find us.
Awesome, awesome. And before I let you depart, I need three things that you would like to share, like three things that I guess tips, encouragement, whatever it may be with families that are homeschooling, teaching,
Mhm.
even public school, however, just parenting in general. Three things that you would like them to know in regards to their little learners.
Absolutely. Um, Patience, consistency, and empathy.
Mm,
So I think leading with those three things consistently every day will develop a better learner overall in life and in academics. So be patient with yourself, be patient with your kids, be empathetic to how they feel, teach them empathy so they can be empathetic to the world around them, because I think that's missing a lot. And also to yourself, give yourself grace, and then consistency. Like it has to be consistent. So whatever it is you're doing, make it consistent. If it didn't work the first time, try it again. It don't always hit the first time. So you always just keep it consistent, and I'll do a fourth one, adapt.
Yes.
Adapt when needed, you know?
Yes.
So I think that would be the recipe.
I love those. And parents, empathy, remember, empathy is not telling somebody what you would do if you were in their shoes.
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much for that clarification.
feel like, because I love it.
Oh my
Right.
gosh.
It's not that, okay? Empathy is
No.
in their shoes, okay? You putting on their shoes and being like, well, I would go this way. No, it's not
That's
that,
not it.
okay? So
Thank you.
just Google empathy and
Right.
sit with it for a little bit, okay?
Right. Right. Thank you for
Yes.
that clarification.
Because things are different. And you hear all the time, like, oh, well, back in my day or when I was in school, or girl, it's nothing like when you was in school. Nothing
Okay,
like
but
it.
it's not. So it doesn't matter. That doesn't help the
Yes.
situation. Yeah, that's comparison. That's ego driven. I don't know what that is. That's not
Everything
empathetic.
but something healthy. That's what it's not.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. So
It's not
yes.
that ain't it. That ain't it.
But
Yes.
thank you so much. I'm very excited about all that you have going. And I know it's just the beginning and you're gonna grow to have so much of an impact on all around like you already are, but I hope that you do venture more into the micro schools and branch out to those too. I'm
Yeah.
just throw that out there because you like you said,
Absolutely.
even if you're not owning the title, you already are doing that.
Right. Right.
So thank you. Parents, understand resources are everywhere.
Yes.
Continue to check them out, continue to do your own research. But just know that this is not a journey you have to take alone. There are people who are dedicated to helping learners, helping young people achieve all the goals that they have set, and just peaking their purpose and focusing on that. So tap into them and learn more and homeschool your kids.
Absolutely.